Good morning, America. How are you? So I woke up last Wednesday to a cop knock at 7:30 in the morning, and I walk outside, and there is the town attorney, armed, along with the entire police department, and they had both sides of my street shut down, and they were dropping off roll-off dumpsters. Here's a new collection of them out here. 4 more were dropped off yesterday. But they proceeded to inform me that they were going to take everything on my property and dispose of it. Everything. And they have. So far, they've taken all of my rocks, my gemstones, my minerals, whatever you want to call it, money in the bank to me. And they have taken, the first thing that they took was my gardens. They came in and took all of my soil that I had been building and working on and was getting ready to put in my gardens. And they know this because they were witnessing the activity. I had a mountain of steel over here that I was getting ready to get rid of. I had moved away all the material in front of it so that we could load it up. And it was literally a mountain of steel. It was these steel pallets. They were 7.5 feet wide by 39 feet long. I had 30 of them. And so I was getting ready to clean up the front, just like they had asked me to. And it was obvious that I was making progress. Everyone has commented on that. And that's what the courts had asked me to do when I had a trial last year. When I asked the town attorney, "You haven't seen any progress on this property?" He goes, "No, it's gotten worse." And it hadn't. So anyway, they were here to do what they wanted to do, and that was to run Mike Roth out of town. Okay, they had enough of Mike Roth, and it was my time. They didn't do it in the middle of the season when everyone was here and they could have had a war on their hands. They did it when almost everybody is gone, like they always do. Now we're coming into summer and nobody's gonna be here anyway, and now we've got the fight of our life on our hand here in Quartzsite because they're going around and claiming they're going to do this to everybody else in town that has old vehicles on their property. And by the way, they called all my classic old vehicles abandoned junk vehicles. And another thing is, this was told to me by several people when I was in jail. Of course, they arrested me so that they couldn't let me videotape all the property they were throwing in the dumpsters. They were taking things like my tools. More than one person told me that they saw piles of tools, because I have projects around my property and I'll have tools over here, tools over there. They took all my tools, threw them away. I happened to get a look in the dumpsters yesterday when they started hauling away the second load batch. And I jumped up in the dumpsters to look. I saw my floor jacks in there. I saw my pressure washer. I saw 4x8 sheets of aluminum metals, and my dump truck tailgate. I got a dump truck, and there's my tailgate, and I asked the driver, "Do you mind if I throw some stuff out?" And he goes, "No, I don't care." I couldn't get the tailgate out because it was wedged in there. So now I got a dump truck without a tailgate, and it's just one thing after another. And yeah, it's just on and on. People are reminding me right now of things they took. I had a collection of propane tanks over here. I had 3 or 4 of the 100-pound propane tanks full. I had just sold a bunch of propane tanks to Patty's RV Park the day before, and he says, "You might want to keep these, they're full." And I did. And they took all kinds of personal property, tools. They did not get all my old vehicles. The community did kind of come together and help me, and I got my forklifts off the property. I got my old vehicles off the property. I got my semi-trailers off the property. And by the way, I'm not the only person in Quartzsite that has semi-trailers on their property. I'm not the only person that has forklifts on their property. I'm not the only guy that has yard art that they didn't like on their property. Quartzsite's a weird and quirky place. And by the way, also, every single one of the tyrants that came to wipe me out don't live here. Not one person. The town manager lives in Phoenix. The town attorney lives in Phoenix. The chief of police doesn't live in Quartzsite. He lives in Parker. He got fired from his job in Parker. They had to buy him out. He was so terrible. They bought him out, and they brought him here to keep the seat warm for when Ponce, the sheriff, inevitably screws up and has to come back, because Ponce will do the dirty work just like Chief Romo is right now. So it's just a vicious cycle. I could go on and on and on. Code enforcement officer doesn't work here or live here. The
Public Works Director.
The what?
Public Works Director.
Public Works Director doesn't live here. And these were all the people directing, this is what we're gonna take. So from what I understand, when they do these actions, this is called an abatement. They're supposed to charge me with abatement in the beginning. This is what I understand. This is all new to me, and I'm learning it as I go along. And they're also supposed to specify what things they are abating. They didn't do any of that. All they said was, a town attorney, everything goes. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars of material on this property, and they took it. And then they said, we're going to charge you for this cleanup $130,000, and they call it a clean and lien. They cleaned up my property, wiped it clean, and now they are liening my property $130,000. And who knows what happens if I don't pay that? Maybe I go to the gulag. So.
And the county lists your property's actual cash value is $125,000.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep, I looked it up.
Okay, so yeah, this is, essentially theft. They didn't want me in Quartzsite asking questions about the crimes. We've got a totally corrupt town council here. We have a totally corrupted police department. Everything about this town is dirty. And I just happen to be a guy with a spine that says, no, you're not going to do that to me. And this is what happens to people in America that stand up to tyranny. And it's not just a Quartzsite problem. This is everywhere. So people, please stand up. There's only a few of them. There's a whole lot of us. Some other advice is to always have your phone ready with a camera. The day before yesterday, I and 3 other people were illegally arrested and jailed, and fortunately it was caught on video. 3 for sure have been caught on video. We're looking for the first person to get arrested to see if we have him on video, but he was asked to leave by the chief of police. As he was walking away, had his back turned to the psychopath, he gets arrested. Okay, gets thrown in cuffs. So who is this?
Mike,
this is my neighbor.
Why were they arrested for trying to stand in the way?
No, we were charged with 13-2810. What was it?
Interfering with public.
Interfering with the court order, which is going to be difficult to prove because on video we weren't interviewing with anything. We turned our back and we were in handcuffs. Never turn your back on a psychopath.
So,
Okay, by the way, I got to run. Go ahead, one more.
I was just going to say, the sheriff's cars were all parked in front of the dumpsters, so they were actually interfering with the cleanup. They were obviously here to arrest people. That's their main goal Wednesday morning.
They were.
Well, they did call early on. The Quartzsite police did. I heard them on their radios calling the sheriff's department asking for large capacity vehicles to arrest a large group of people.
Before we got arrested.
Before the arrest.
So this was a planned attack on our liberties.
Correct.
Okay, I got to run, guys. Thank you.